Lord. All right, Tammy, Brock, welcome to the Empower Network. I'm excited that you're here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
This is going to be funny. We were just talking about a couple of things. I'll just make a little quick announcement. But if you're someone and you're getting sick and tired of all these announcements in the Facebook group, you can actually manage that on your notifications in Facebook. So if you're seeing, because I typically do at least one interview a day, let's say, plus there's other events. And if that's too much for you, totally get it. You can go under notifications and change your notifications so that you're only receiving stuff you're actually tagged in, or you can also turn them all off, or you can turn them off, just accept if it's for your friends in the group. So there is some options there for those of you that find the notifications annoying. I understand. I'm one of those people that likes to turn certain things off. So we were just talking about that. So in case that's you, just be aware that you can, under notifications, specify there's like 3 or 4 options for notifications just in this group. So you can tailor them exactly what you want. So it's not bugging you. So Tammy, thank you for being here. I was just asking Tammy, how do I spell dyslexia? She said, if you can't spell it, you're probably dyslexic. I was like, maybe I am. So
No, I'm sure you're not.
we're going to be talking about overcoming dyslexia because I love just the story you shared, Tammy, about the fact that, growing up dyslexic, a big reason why you do the coaching you do is to help people, help kids, help adults get through what you had to face. And as you were sharing that, I'm like, Tammy, that is the brilliance. That's the only reason to do something, is if you've faced it and you've been there. And now you've discovered some stuff. And then because all your students and clients are going to know that you know exactly what they feel like. And that's so important. So I'm just proud of you so we're going to get into that. We're going to get into your story. And first, a bit about your coaching. What does your coaching practice look like? Helping people work through dyslexia. Is it done online? Is it done in person?
It is online. It used to be in person, but COVID kind of changed all that for everybody, getting us all talking this way online. So that's better. It opens up the world to me instead of face to face and just the people in my community. I can help more. What I do is I teach parents how to help their own child. So when a parent comes to me, it's usually because their dyslexic child is falling behind in school and they've heard the term dyslexia and the school says, well, let's wait and see how it goes. Maybe they'll grow out of it. Well, you don't grow out of it, right? So then a couple of years later, they end up, now they're falling behind. They're a couple of grade levels behind and they need to do something because the school's not helping. So they contact me and I can either work with them one-on-one and help with getting them to grade level, or I can teach the parents how to help their own child. Wow. So that's what that is me working with the parent and the child, and then the parent does a little more work on the side without me. So that frees me up to work with more people.
Okay. So you have 2 methods, done for you or done with you.
Right. It does depend on the severity. It's kind of like the autism spectrum. It's a severity kind of thing. So you could be real severe. You could have multiple issues going on, or you could be just mild, as I was and as my daughter was. And we kind of just go from there. If they're too severe, it's probably not a good idea for the parents to work with them. Then I would have to work with them one-on-one. But a lot of times ADHD will also go with that. So you have to keep the student engaged and active and not let all the distractions. And I do have one little guy that's always playing with his shoes and all this different stuff while we're tutoring. So we got to kind of, bring the focus back to tutoring. But if they also have ADHD, they might not be able to tutor as long as other ones. So there's kind of some playing around with it that we have to do.
Yeah.
And then besides dyslexia, they could have some issues with handwriting, which is called dysgraphia. They could have issues with math, which is called dyscalculia. So there could be a lot of different things going on. So with my program where I teach the parents how to work with the kids, I really want it to just be mild or maybe mediocre dyslexia, but not a lot of different issues going on. And it would be easier for the parents that way.
Okay. Now, can I ask a real basic question because I don't know this, Tammy? Is dyslexia when you read letters backwards, or is it?
Well, what dyslexia is it's a processing disorder. So it's a language processing and phonemic awareness. And that means the sounds in letters are having troubles getting processed in the brain. And they're actually processed on the other side of the brain compared to people who are not dyslexic. So that's kind of where the flipping goes on. So if you're saying, okay, my child is having confusion with the B's and D's flipping around, or maybe a B and a P is flipping. So it's either flipping this way or it's flipping the other way. So they have confusion with B's and D's and P's and Q's. And sometimes numbers also get flipped where a 3 looks like an E, and things like that. Sometimes they'll have the syllables in a word completely backwards. Like instead of saying spaghetti, they'll say pusketty.
Yeah.
And a lot of teachers will say, okay, well, they can grow out of those things. And sometimes they will grow out of those particular things. But if those are things that are happening, like especially the letter reversals, if that's happening past age 7, that's a pretty good sign that it's probably dyslexia, along with some other signs, like they're having troubles learning how to tie their shoes, or remembering their own name, address, and phone number, or telling time on a clock that's not digital, although we don't have a whole lot of analog clocks around anymore. But there's
Yeah.
some signs that are kind of clues that this could be dyslexia. So there is a list, which is on my Facebook page if they want to know kind of, well, let me read that list and see, does my child have any of these signs?
And if your child, so let's say I have a 5-year-old that does have those, if that was my situation, then what kind of hope is there? Is it one of those things where the sooner you hit it, the better the chance? Is it a spectrum? How does it work?
It definitely is. The sooner you hit it, the better, right? The neuroplasticity in the brain and being able to do that reprogramming early, getting those solid connections up there, the sooner the better. But if somebody doesn't start until later and isn't aware of it until later, it's not like they can't be helped. It's just that it's quicker. And that's really what I want to start narrowing in on and focusing on is the child that's from 2nd to 4th grade, catch them early. The trouble is that schools are telling parents to wait, and then they're getting, to the upper grades. And I'm just praying parents don't wait. Don't get your kids on a waiting list, because there's not enough tutors out there. That's another reason why I want to teach parents, is because there's not enough of us out there to help. And the parents will be calling around looking for help, and they'll be running into every tutor saying, I don't have any openings and I'll put you on my waiting list. Don't get on a waiting list. Don't wait for face-to-face if you can get a remote tutor, because at least you're starting. I mean, if you want to wait for face-to-face, that's fine, but do remote in the meantime. Do something. Don't just wait, because the earlier they start, the better.
Wow.
Now, in my daughter's case, I mean, it was okay. I could tell my story and how I started.
Yes, please.
My daughter was having struggles in reading in 3rd grade. At that time, I never heard the word dyslexia, right? We got all the way to 6th grade with her still having reading troubles, even though they were pulling her out of the regular classroom and working with her one-on-one, doing whatever program they do. I'm not sure if it's just more of the classroom stuff and it's one-on-one versus, 25 kids in the classroom. But whatever they were doing with her for 3 years didn't do anything because she started 6th grade still reading at a 3rd grade reading level. And I happened to hear the word dyslexia on the radio. And I went to a seminar they had in town and I found out all about it. And I said, okay, she's got a lot of those signs that they're talking about. And so do I. So that's when I found out that I was dyslexic. And that wasn't until like I was about 40, right? So all
Wow.
through school, all through my grade school, all through college, everything, and I went through school. It's not like I dropped out or anything. I still could read. It's just that it took me longer. Everything I did took me longer than everybody else. And that was kind of frustrating. So
Yeah.
anyway, to make a long story short, I worked with my own daughter, and in 6th grade, in one school year, I brought her from that 3rd grade reading level to an 8th grade reading level. So we closed that gap and went beyond it. And I kept on tutoring her. The next year, she went from an 8th grade reading level to an 11th grade reading level. So it works, right? But the thing is these dyslexic students, they have to learn a different way.
Yeah.
And when they're getting pulled out of the classroom to get taught separately,
Yeah.
you have to make sure that they're using an Orton Gillingham based program. They have to be taught in a different way. Or like what happened with my daughter, they're going to spend that 3 years and not get anywhere, right?
You said Orton Gillingham based
Orton Gillingham, yep.
Gillingham.
There's several different programs out there that are really good, but just make sure it's Orton Gillingham and multi-sensory based, right? So when we're talking about the different areas in the brain that we're trying to reprogram, the multi-senses part of it is what really helps. They need to see the word, hear it being spoken out loud. We touch things, right? So you're getting as many of the 5 senses involved as you can for that rewiring that's going on, or not necessarily, even if it's not rewiring, but just to make things more solid, right? What does a bee look like and what does a bee say? And if it sometimes flips, we need to address that. And we have a little hand signal that we can kind of help with that too, to double check. And this was lots of different tricks, right? So I've been doing this for 15 years and I've seen a lot of different kids go through the program and have success. And that's what keeps me going, right? Because when I see these kids improve so much, and it's not only their improvement in their spelling and reading and bringing that up to grade level, but it's also helping with their self-confidence and self-esteem, because that really gets hit when they realize in 1st or 2nd grade that everyone else can read and I can't. And they get called stupid or they call themselves stupid, right? And so that self-esteem and self-confidence issue is huge, and another reason why I want to catch them at the younger age. Because the more they sit there in the classroom and everybody else can do it, right? In 2nd grade, maybe it's not so bad, but when they've been struggling 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade, now it's going on and it's just getting worse. They're getting farther and farther behind. Usually what happens is these students will hit a brick wall at 4th grade. Or if not at 4th grade, 5th grade for sure. And the reason why is because they're expected for their vocabulary to grow so much by 4th and 5th grade. And, in the younger grades, they can kind of guess, like, how do you spell cat? It's a small word versus those later grades. They're getting multi-syllable words thrown at them. They're supposed to be spelling those. They're supposed to know what they mean. And they're not readers, and if the kids are readers, they're going to get their vocabulary built up, right? Even if they can have books read to them, listen to books on tape, that's another way that they can get their vocabulary built up. But the hope is that we can start catching these kids earlier. So
I didn't realize that you found out as an adult. And then,
Most people my age did find out when they were an adult. I actually did a Facebook poll on one of the groups that I'm on for dyslexia. And I said, a poll, when did you find out that you were dyslexic? And a lot of them didn't find out till they were an adult, maybe in college or after. Yeah, because I'm in my 50s. So if you were, in school back then, they didn't talk about it so much.
they just thought, oh,
So,
you're just a bit slower of a reader. They wouldn't even know why, because there was no
right,
tool really back then. So
right.
you
And
found out. Go ahead. Go
they
ahead.
get called lazy too. They just say we get told, well, you need to try harder, just sound it out. Or, yeah, just you need to try harder. You can do it. Well, it doesn't have anything to do with effort, and it doesn't have anything to do with IQ either. Like, as we know, there's all of these famous people who are dyslexic, and, we just think differently, and we have to learn differently too.
So your brain is actually processing a different way than someone else who doesn't have dyslexia. That you're processing the information differently. So
Yep.
your computer software is running the program different than how someone. So if your software is different, of course the output is likely different.
Right, right. Sometimes I like to use the analogy of maybe somebody speaking Spanish to me and I just don't understand them, right?
Yes.
And sometimes it's that severe for a child to sit in a classroom, even though the teacher is speaking English, they can't process it, or they can't retain it long enough to process it and understand it and remember it, right? So like, another sign is if a parent is telling a child, okay, I want you to do these 4 things, like could be as simple as go get your pajamas on, go to the bathroom, brush your teeth, and be ready for bed and for a bedtime story or whatever, right? And they can't remember a sequence of things that they're supposed to do. School's really hard though, because a lot of times the teacher will be up in front of the class and they'll be rattling off all of this stuff, and a dyslexic child could still be on number 1.
Oh,
Like, wait, I don't get, and they want to ask a question, but then they feel stupid because they're always asking questions. So,
well, my heart kind of hurts for that because that's where shame and like all these horrible negative emotions
mhm,
will build up and then wire into the kid's brain at 6 and 7 and 8. And then
right.
wonder why, as an adult, they're recluse, or they're scared of standing up. They're scared of establishing boundaries because they're carrying these shame things from when they're young.
Hmm. Yep. Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah. Okay, so do you have a website, Tammy, or how do people connect with you?
I do not have a website yet, but I do have the Facebook page. That's the best way to contact me.
Okay. Your person, now I'll be tagging your personal page here. Do you want them to?
Right.
Yeah, that
Right.
way.
So the name that's underneath my image here in this Zoom is what my Facebook name is.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's the way. And then I also have a business page off of that, from my bio, you can click and get into my business page, and there is, phone number and email address to contact me that way if you don't want to do Facebook Messenger. But yep, just Facebook for right now.
Now, how's your daughter doing? You said at grade 6, she was reading at a grade 8 level, and she went
Right.
from reading at a grade like 3 or 4 level in grade 6, and then you got her. So where's she at now?
Right. So remember, this was 15 years ago. So she has now gone on to college with a full ride scholarship on an out of state school. And she went to college for social work, and she moved to Florida and got a job down there. And she's now a teacher.
Hang on.
So,
She went as social work, so it's heavily reading dependent and writing dependent because all the papers and and she's
right.
working as a teacher with a lot of words and okay.
And she's teaching high school English.
Okay.
So,
Wow.
yeah.
This stuff works.
Yep. Yep. It's just just really important. Don't give up on them, right? Because parents need to be that advocate for them and teach the child to be an advocate for themselves, right? So you need to go after those IEP and 504 plans. You need to go after the actual diagnosis so that you can get those, and you can get, the time limits taken off of tests and ACTs for college and all of that kinds of things, because it's a disability, right? You wouldn't not get glasses if you needed them. You wouldn't not get a wheelchair if you needed it, right? So you need to go after those things that you are able to get for them.
And you're in the States, correct, Tammy?
Yes, I'm in Wisconsin.
Wisconsin. So in every country will have its own, you can
Yes.
see some codes there. So make sure if your child or your, who knows, if yourself, look up what support mechanisms there are, and whether that's financial, whether that's alleviation of burdens and restrictions during tests for your child, so that they can feel free to engage in a way that is more supportive of them. That's huge. That's huge. So, well, people can actually reach out to you, right? And I'm sure you have a wealth of knowledge and resources. So if you're seeing this and you put your hand up and say yes to yourself or to your child or someone, please get in touch with Tammy and continue this conversation.
Yeah, I'd love to. I'd love to talk to anyone who wants to talk.
Well, you've walked the walk. As an adult, you figured it out, and you brought your own daughter through it. So you've walked the walk. You're talking the talk.
Right. A whole lifetime of experience.
Yeah, you're the perfect coach for this. So for trainer, teacher, tutor, there's the word, tutor. I finally came to it. All right, if you've been watching the Power Network, Tammy Brock does dyslexia tutoring and how to overcome dyslexia. You've been listening to her story and how now her daughter has overcome it. So thank you, Tammy, for being on the Empower Network. I'll message you after this. And
all right, one more thing. Don't forget, it is hereditary. So if somebody in your family you suspect was dyslexic, your child could be as well. So just another thing to remember. And 20% of the population, so 1 in 5 children, which is another shocking statistic.
1 in 5.
Mm-hmm.
They're just processing differently. The brain is just processing differently. Okay.
All righty. Thank you so much for having me, Amos.
Thank you so much, Tammy. I'll message you shortly. Thanks, everyone.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.